talk about Geno Smith and the Seattle Seahawks because there's a lot of uncertainty right now with this franchise. For the first time since 2010, they will have a brand new head coach. Pete Carroll will not be the head coach of this team for this upcoming season. It will be Mike Macdonald. Basically, they pushed Pete Carroll out the window for a brand new, younger coach, and I don't have a problem with that. Pete Carroll was still a very good football coach, in my opinion. He just cannot figure out the defensive side of things anymore. It seems like his philosophy was outdated for today's NFL. Mike Macdonald was coming over from the Baltimore Ravens, where he led them to be one of the best defenses in the NFL. You had that defense and the Cleveland Browns defense. Statistically, the Baltimore Ravens had the best defense in the NFL, and you're getting players on the defensive side of the ball that fits the system of Mike Macdonald. But before I talk about the defense in general, I want to talk about the offense, because the offense has been the golden spot of this team for the last couple of years. The defense hasn't looked the same since guys like Richard Sherman, Earl Thomas III, and also Cam Chancellor have all left this team. Their defense has had a steady decline, while their offense has stayed consistent, even with the back years of Russell Wilson. You look at Geno Smith in 2022, a phenomenal season, 4,282 passing yards, 30 passing touchdowns to 11 interceptions. He earned a contract that he just got from the Seattle Seahawks, but it's also a lot of questions around Geno Smith. Is he the long-term guy for the next 3 to 4 years? They did make a trade to go out there and get Sam Howell. Now, one thing that we all know about the Seattle Seahawks organization, they have not spent a first-round pick on a quarterback in quite some time. Russell Wilson was not a first-round pick, and he stayed with the team for a very long time. Two Super Bowl appearances, 1 Super Bowl win. And Geno Smith was not a draft pick by the Seattle Seahawks. Geno Smith was a second-round pick by the New York Jets. They basically lucked into this situation. And now you bring in Sam Howell. What makes it so interesting is that even though Sam Howell did have the most turnovers in the NFL, he played in a horrible system with the Washington Commanders. They could not run the football, and the wide receivers could not separate. With the Seattle Seahawks, if you want to bring him in the next 2 to 3 years, he's going to be in a great situation. If Tyler Lockett is still around, you have DK Metcalf, you have Jackson Smith and Jigba, you have Kenneth Walker III, and a significantly better offensive line. So if you want to move off of Geno Smith sometime in the future, Sam Howell could possibly be your good starting quarterback long term. But we will see. But right now, Geno Smith is not the reason why this team missed the NFL playoffs. It was because of their defense. The offense had to go out there and score 24 to 30 points in the game just to give them a chance. Look at the Dallas Cowboys game, even though they got screwed in that game because of the bad officiating. But it was a lot of games this season to where the offense had to go out there and basically score all the points that they could to have a chance, because the passing defense was not good enough and the rushing defense was horrible as well. They would run the Seattle Seahawks off the field. But you look at Geno Smith, he has good weapons around him, and he's a solid quarterback. DK Metcalf is still one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. It's going to be very interesting to see what Ryan Grubb can do with these players, because Shane Waldron did a lot of good things with this team, not only this season, but also the season before. And Shane Waldron is now the offensive coordinator for the Chicago Bears. One thing that's very interesting, this team went 4 straight quarters without scoring an offensive touchdown. And then they went against the Dallas Cowboys and they completely erupted. Part of the reason why their offense struggled so much this season is not because Geno Smith just fell off a cliff. The offensive line dealt with injuries. Abraham Lucas and Charles Cross both went down against the Los Angeles Rams in week 1. And they lost that game against the Los Angeles Rams in week 1. Not only did they lose to him once, they lost to him twice. And essentially getting swept by the Rams was the worst thing possible for this team, because essentially it cost them a playoff spot. The Rams made the NFL playoffs instead of the Seattle Seahawks. And not only did this team get swept by the Los Angeles Rams, of course they got swept by the San Francisco 49ers as well, because their defense is not good enough to go out there and deal with those playmakers. It was a shocker when they lost against the Rams, not once but twice. When you look at what happened in week 1, when both the tackles went down, it's the viral clip of Geno Smith looking at Aaron Donald and saying, oh my goodness, is just throwing the football away, because they could not protect Geno Smith. So they had to get better at the offensive line spot, and they also had to get more depth there as well for guys like Charles Cross and Abraham Lucas if they do go down. Charles Cross is a first-round pick for this team a couple of years ago. He's a very good tackle. Abraham Lucas is in question. I think that he's a solid tackle to have around, but he dealt with that knee injury this season. This is a team that has weapons everywhere, from Jackson Smith to Jigba, DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, Kenneth Walker III. And Kenneth Walker III is a very good running back with this team. You have him and Zach Charbonnet. Kenneth Walker III had 905 rushing yards this season and 8 rushing touchdowns. Granted, he did miss some time because he's dealing with a groin injury, but Zach Charbonnet came in and he looked solid with this team. And it wasn't like the Seattle Seahawks were just a terrible team this season. They're kind of in that no man's land situation in terms of not being a horrible team. You're not going to have a top 5 to top 10 draft pick, but at the same time, you're not elite Super Bowl contenders in the NFC. When you look at this Seattle Seahawks team, they're in a gray area right now, and you hope that Coach McDonald can come in and push them to being in a better situation, because their defense was just above average this season. They could easily be one of the most dangerous teams in the NFC. But you have to be able to go out there and beat teams like the Los Angeles Rams and beat teams like the San Francisco 49ers. I like Pete Carroll a lot. I really do. But I do agree with the move of bringing in a younger defensive-minded coach, because Pete Carroll had that old school type of mind of just going out there and running the same basic plays. And we saw Kyle Shanahan go out there and eat up those plays, and the same with Sean McVay as well. For whatever reason, Pete Carroll's defense struggled a lot against the run, and especially against West Coast teams a lot. And you look at the teams in the NFC, the Green Bay Packers are a top team in this conference. They run a similar system, the San Francisco 49ers and the Los Angeles Rams. So it's going to be hard to go out there and defend against those teams if the rushing defense did not get better. Offensively, I like what they're doing. It's going to come down to see what Ryan Grubb can do with this offense. They're going to be in a very good situation. The nucleus of that offense is very good. They just need to go out there and work on the offensive line spot. But the fact that they had 4 quarters without scoring an offensive touchdown is scary, but a lot of that was due to injuries and because a lot of the players were not 100% even when they were on the field. Same with Geno Smith. He's dealing with an arm injury, and he dealt with that leg injury as well when he went against the New York Giants, when Drew Lock came in and basically helped win them that game, in the same situation against the Philadelphia Eagles as well. Now let's talk about the defense. This is where Mike McDonald's going to have to come in and work on this defense. This is not going to be an overnight fix. I do expect for the defense to be better this season, because you already have went out there and you cut players like Jamal Adams. Completely terrible. They had to move off Jamal Adams and Quandre Diggs. Quandre Diggs was not the same safety this season, but Jamal Adams over the last couple of years has not been able to stay healthy, and when he was on the field, he looked completely terrible. He could not cover anyone. He was not the same tackler either. You bring in 2 solid safeties with this team that fits the system of Mike McDonald. I like Julian Love. He's been with this team from this upcoming season, from the season we just moved off of. 85 solo tackles, 2 forced fumbles, 4 interceptions, 10 pass deflections. He was the best safety with this team this season. Easily. He was better than Quandre Diggs, and he was better than Jamal Adams. And it was no reason for you to go out there and continue to pay those guys when Julian Love was going out there and making phenomenal plays, like how he did against the Philadelphia Eagles, and key plays that he made against the Arizona Cardinals as well, and against the Steelers. Then you also look at Rayshon Jenkins. Very good, solid safety to have. 66 solo tackles, 2 interceptions, 9 pass deflections. These guys can come in, immediately give you good pass coverage, and can also come in there and help you tackle up front as well. Then you have those cornerbacks of this team. Tyreek Woolen is a very good cornerback with this team. The thing is with Tyreek Woolen, he did not look the same this season, but he fits the system of Mike McDonald, a tall, lanky corner that can go out there and run some press man and can be solid in the zone as well. He has potential to be one of the best corners in the NFL with just his physical makeup alone, and he can be a very versatile cornerback with this team. But you also have another guy with this team that is phenomenal, Devin Witherspoon, and he was the best player in the secondary overall, and he missed the first couple of games dealing with a wrist injury. 56 solo tackles, 1 forced fumble, 1 interception, 16 pass deflections. He is just an explosive player. He's all over the field. Look at what he did in the New York Giants game. He was sacking the quarterback, going out there, stopping the run, hitting up the slot wide receiver. He is just an overall good cornerback with this team. So if you can get him to gel with Tyreek Woolen, you could possibly have one of the best top cornerback duos in the NFL if coached up correctly. And we just saw the Baltimore Ravens were able to do with their secondary. They had one of the best secondaries in the NFL. And that came from Coach McDonald. So I expect for him to come in and work out with these guys. And I expect for them to have immediate impact day one in this brand new system with this team. Far as the pass rush wasn't the best, but at the same time, it was a step up from what happened last season. Geno Smith just a year ago had 9.5 sacks with Darrell Taylor. They both led the team in sacks. Geno Smith missed a lot of time this season dealing with a pec injury, but Boye Mafe came out of nowhere, led this team in sacks, and he looked very good doing it. Boye Mafe on the season had 9 sacks, 1 forced fumble. If you can have him, Geno Smith, both of those guys healthy, that's a very good pass rushing duo to have with this team. And you still have Darrell Taylor with this team as well. Now, Darrell Taylor only had 5.5 sacks this season, 1 forced fumble. That's a step down from the season before, but he can still go out there and get you some pass rush as well. You have Draymond Jones, who can go out there, stop the run, can push the pocket. I like his game a lot. You have Jaron Reed, who can also go out there, push the pocket as well. 7 sacks in the season, 1 forced fumble, and you bring back Leonard Williams. You traded Leonard Williams away to the New York Giants, but he wants to come back to this team, and you got him on a steal. 5.5 sacks in the season, 0 forced fumbles, but he's a very good run-stopping defensive lineman. So the front seven with this team already looks better. You did lose Bobby Wagner, and you also did lose Jordan Brooks as well. And I hate that because Bobby Wagner is the guy that wanted to come back home. He's now with the Washington Commanders. He wasn't the same Bobby Wagner, but he was still a very good linebacker with this team. And Jordan Brooks was phenomenal the last couple of years. The only thing was this: he couldn't stay healthy. Has dealt with the ankle injuries, has dealt with the torn ACL. They wanted to move off of him. You bring in a guy like Terrell Dotson, who was a very good linebacker from the Buffalo Bills. And the snaps he played this season, he looked very good. 57 solo tackles, 2.5 sacks, 1 forced fumble as well. So they have good players on the defensive side of the ball. It's just in terms of these guys getting the reps together because they're very young. Tariq Woolen's entering year 3. That's a young football player. Devin Witherspoon, year 2. That's a young football player. You have some veterans with this team, but at the same time, you have a lot of young players on that defensive side of the ball. You hope that they can gel with Coach McDonald and he can get these guys to a better situation. No matter how you put it, you're going to have to go out there and beat the best team in this division, and that's the San Francisco 49ers. And they have not been able to beat the San Francisco 49ers in the last couple of years. Some people may hate them moving off of Pete Carroll. I understand what they were trying to do, but we will see long term, will this have a very good effect or not with this team? But it's a lot of uncertainty after this upcoming season. Do they want to stick with Geno Smith? Do they want Sam Howell to come in there and play some games? And if Geno Smith does struggle this season, will they put in a guy like Sam Howell? Because Geno Smith still has that redemption arc right now. A guy that was a career journey backup, did not get the fair shake with the New York Jets. He comes over with the Seattle Seahawks and Pete Carroll, and we all know that Pete Carroll's a fun-loving coach. People love Pete Carroll. He gets that situation. Will he have the same leash with Coach McDonald that he had with Pete Carroll? If Geno Smith goes out there and he throws 2 interceptions or 3 interceptions in the game, will they put in a guy like Sam Howell? Because like I mentioned before, Sam Howell's not your typical NFL backup. This is a guy that has a big arm. He could possibly go out there and could possibly be a franchise quarterback with this team. And I know some people may look at that and roll their eyes. It's the same thing people said about Geno Smith a couple years ago. And when you put him in this situation with guys like Jackson Smith-Njigba, Tyler Lockett, and also DK Metcalf, he could be a very good quarterback with this team. And you're going to have to go out there and have an insurance policy at that quarterback spot as well. Another interesting point, if Michael Penix Jr. does slide into the second round, will they go with Michael Penix Jr.? Ryan Grubb is the former offensive coordinator for Washington. And he just coached up Michael Penix Jr. to having the best year in his career. Now, I think that's far-fetched because this NFL draft class should all be about the offensive line and building up that defense. But you never know. Look how crazy this offseason has been. But I do think the Seattle Seahawks will be a tough team to beat for his upcoming season. But at the same time, I do not see them being a Super Bowl contending team. I could be wrong. Anything is possible. But let me know in the comment section below, how do you guys feel about the Seattle Seahawks and Geno Smith? And is he the right quarterback with this team long term? If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. If you like the video, hit the like button. Most importantly, when each and every last one, guys, stay safe, stay positive. Thanks for watching the video, guys. God bless. Peace.